Jesus explains Contemplation of Nature and Decline of Mankind. Chapter 75 on the proper contemplation of nature. But I, Jesus, said, "For that we still have an hour's time, and it is quite pleasant to be upon this hill, and to behold how the thoughts of God embody themselves before our very eyes." Said the innkeeper, "Lord, how is this to be understood?" Said I, "All around us, everything you see with your eyes, hear with your ears, and perceive with your senses, everything is an embodiment of the thoughts of God. You see the mighty movement of the waves. Who is it that drives the waters to rise up so high and does not allow them to come to rest? You see, this is one of God's thoughts, animated by His will. Look at all the birds that play with the waves. What are they other than purely embodied thoughts of God? The entire ocean, all the mountains, all the animals, all the grass, herbs and trees, all the people, the sun, the moon, and all the countless stars. All of these things are nothing else but the thoughts of God. Their existence depends solely on the, for you still incomprehensible, permanence of God's will. I postulate the possible case, which can be explained quite well by the most endless freedom of the divine will, that if God were to withdraw His will from one of these embodied thoughts before us, the embodiment would cease to exist the very next moment. The spiritual thought within God would still exist, but the body would dissolve into pure nothingness, so to speak. But here we have before us the, for the true friend of God, ever so important existence, presence, becoming as well as passing away of the thoughts of God. Is it not truly a delight to watch these things day after day and through them come to know the love, wisdom, and omnipotence of Jehovah more closely? Over there to the east, behold the little clouds, how they grow bigger and then become smaller again, and soon disappear altogether. These too are thoughts of God, silently pulled together from the air by the will, and briefly passing into a fleeting embodiment, presented to us in continuously changing forms. These forms are certainly more inclined towards the original, spiritual elements than the solid mountains and all the other structures that surround us. And yet, their existence is nevertheless a more imperfect one, for they must first, by way of repeated appearances, change into another form, like a drop of rain for instance, and then, as nutrient, take on a more decisive and permanent shape in one or another plant. And this continues up to man himself, where they become completely free and independent, freely thinking and freely willing beings, forever unchangeable and durable, and that is when they can and will pass over into the purely spiritual, evermore resembling God. So you see, he who contemplates the creatures of God in this manner will find much joy and happiness therein. And I say to you that such contemplation is more invigorating to man than any morning meal enjoyed too early. Don't you think so too? Said the innkeeper, "Oh yes, Lord and Master, but for such an invigorating contemplation, your wisdom is required as well. I could have looked for a century and would still not have recognized what you just revealed to us. From now on, it will become better with me, since I am a friend of nature and delight in its shapes and forms. Only when, every now and then, it gets out of control, I prefer to stay away from it. If great storms loom and the clouds threaten us with lightning and thunder, then my affability towards nature comes to an end. However, nature in its quiet workings and existence, I am exceedingly fond of. And despite this sea storm not being a quiet activity of nature, it is not really dangerous to us land dwellers, and therefore may be contemplated with peace of mind. But if an immense hurricane were to stir up the sea to such movement, then it would not be too comfortable sitting here, watching the actions of nature and attempting to recognize the great thoughts of God, animated by His will. Said I, "That is certainly the case. But what I have told you now is not a command, but merely some good advice, since otherwise man would have to descend into the depths of the sea, and there too observe the embodiment of the great thoughts of God all around. However, where man can do it without the possibility of danger or harm to his life, he should do so from time to time, and he will find it quite useful for both soul and body. More and more, he will awaken within himself the spirit of true love for God and for his fellow man. For to truly love God, one must seek to understand God more and more. Whoever does not make this his primary objective must, in the end, ascribe it to himself when, within himself, the feeling and awareness of the everlasting life of the soul after the death of the body is and remains weak. For this feeling of life is the very result of the true, living love for God, and therefrom for one's fellow man. God, in himself as Father, is, in his primordial being, love and thereby life itself, because love and life are one and the same. Therefore, whoever carries the love for God within himself, which is the only element of life, possesses the true, divine, and everlasting life as well. But he who does not possess such love is dead within himself. His is only a feigned life, and therefore remains a judgment for as long as he does not voluntarily awaken and live in the love for God within himself by his own actions. And you see, that is why it is beneficial for the true man to conduct such contemplations from time to time, observing whatever presents itself to his senses. Do you now understand what I have told you? Said the innkeeper, "Yes, Lord and Master. Now this is clear to me as well. It is just so lamentable that most people in this world have no knowledge of any of these ever so important teachings of life. However, I will not lack the proper zeal to at least teach what I know to those who happen to be receptive. But what might be the leading cause for the people of this time to have become so dreadfully pointless?" Chapter 76. The Causes for the Decline of Mankind, Theocracy and Kingship, the Last Days and Judgment. Said I, "Remember what I have already told you about it. But primarily, the causes for the decline of mankind are arrogance, lethargy, self-love, and, born from it, imperiousness. Already during the time of Samuel did the people begin to shy away from work. They became ashamed of certain types of work and started hiring servants and maidens to perform them. The rich property owners put their hands upon their laps and let others work for them. Whoever did the most work for them was rewarded a better pay, which was quite right. But at this opportunity did the property owners slowly but surely transform into small rulers who refused to perform even the smallest of the servants' tasks. Instead, they just ordered the servants and maidens to work. They themselves, however, did not move a single finger. The way the parents were, so did their children turn out. Namely, lazy, self-centered, and power-hungry. They learned to rule over those who served them, but they did not want to dirty their own hands with any menial common work. This bad habit grew among the people from year to year, and only too soon reached a level where the already well-fed hubris could not be sufficiently satiated anymore. He, the Jew, wistfully gazed at the splendor as well as the great and high-standing dignitaries of the heathen nations, and to be a king appeared to him as one of the highest honors and dignities that could be bestowed. In short, he too wished to have a worldly king, and he was not content anymore with the purest rule of God through the seers and judges. When the people, resisting all the good admonitions of the seers, nevertheless demanded a king from Samuel, the devout servant of God presented the people's foolish desire to God, for he was unsure of what it is he should do. That is when Jehovah spoke to him. Behold, adding to all the sins this nation has already committed in my presence, it now commits this greatest of sins. The people demand a king. Go and anoint the greatest man of the nation. He will punish them for the sins committed against me. Behold, in summary, these are the words of Jehovah in response to the demands of the people. The consequences of the continuously increasing arrogance of the people you can partly read in the Book of Kings and in the Book of Chronicles, where the nice stories are briefly recorded. But the bigger part of it you now have before your very eyes. Friend, only in true humility lies the path to the inner life of the soul. But who does possess it? You see, not even the servant of his master. For he measures himself against the servants of another lord, in comparison to the honor and reputation of his own lord. If this is just 1 degree higher than the lord of another servant, the servant of a lesser lord is looked upon with disdain, and between the two only few words are exchanged. I say to you, for as long as true and pure love, as well as its corresponding humility, will not order and guide the nations, that is how long it will remain dark upon the earth. That there will always be some who dwell in the light is certain indeed, but those are always few and far between. For as long as there exist rulers who are proud beyond all measure and renowned in the eyes of the world, thirsting for glory, that is how long the seed of pride and imperiousness will continue to proliferate in all layers of mankind. Night, darkness, selfishness, jealousy, stinginess, persecution and betrayal, as the true elements of hell, will not depart from this earth until the time of the greatest judgment, when I will once again purify the earth by fire. After such a time, no king will rule over any nation upon this earth. Only the light of God will reign. You will not experience that time in the flesh, but brightly and ever so clearly in spirit in my kingdom. Said the innkeeper, Lord, when, in terms of years, will this joyful time arrive? Said I, this is only known to the Father, and after him it is only known by those to whom the Father wishes to reveal it. Until now, the Father has not revealed it to me, except that it will indeed occur. But this you may all accept as the full truth, the fact that nearly every 2,000 years a great change takes place here on earth. And that is how it shall be. But now, nothing more about that. Said the innkeeper, Lord, if it would please you, the morning meal should be prepared by now. Said I, now then, let us go and enjoy it. Thereupon we all returned home, where the morning meal was waiting for us. The disciples who remained at home asked us where we were because they could not find us. But I said, "We were exactly where we were, and you searched for us where we were not. And this is the simple reason why you did not find us. But now let us eat and drink." Thereupon the morning meal commenced, and throughout, one of the true Greeks mentioned that my answer to their question sounded a little strange, and they did not know what they should make of it. I then said to them, precisely the way I have given it to you. If you were to delve a little deeper into it, you will certainly find a great spiritual truth within. Said the disciples, "That might be somewhat difficult, since it appears to merely be a clever chastisement for our cheeky question." Said I, "Oh, not at all, but I will tell you what lies therein, and what I wanted to say with it. And so, listen to me carefully. Truly, those who search for me where I simply am not, they will find nothing, and they will not find me either. In time, many will search for me, and they will not find me. There will come a time when many false prophets and messiahs will arise to tell you, 'Behold, here is the anointed,' or 'There he is.' However, do not believe them, for wherever they say I can be found, there I will be found the least, and in truth will never be found at all. Those who search for me where even the slightest stench of the world reeks will not find me. Only those who search for me in true love, humility, and self-abnegation will surely always find me, wherever they may look. That is why you went out in search of me, albeit a little annoyed, because earlier I did not inform you of where I would be going this morning before breakfast. And you see, even in spirit, that was not the right place for you to search for me, which is why, even on the outside, you could not find the place I was at. However, this does not have any bearings on your relationship with me. I merely showed you in this metaphor how things will be in the future. Therefore, akin to me, may every true teacher always choose and present his words in such a way, even in regards to the most trifle of matters, that they may serve as a basis for new and important teachings. For truly, I say to you, in the kingdom of the spirits, who are pure before God, you will be held accountable for every vain and empty word, ruined before the pure light of truth out of God. These words did not taste too well to the disciples, but they nevertheless engraved them deeply into their souls.